You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, I thought we'd start today with the pats on the back by both Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor and Jean-François Roberge yesterday over Bill C-13, each saying to the other how proud they were to have worked this thing out, which, by the way, has still not officially passed. But they were getting reaction from a variety of people around the province, including Michel Leblanc from the Board of Trade. I just want you to hear what he had to say.
From the business perspective, it goes well. C13 and la Charte de la langue française will have similar requirements, and there's clarity, so it's positive.
There's clarity, and therefore it's positive. What do you make of that?
Well, that's not the same clip as the one that I saw, where he's basically the same Michel Leblanc, who was essentially saying that after Monsieur Roberge, the Minister of the French Language, accused the 300,000 or so temporary workers in Quebec who are here because employers in Quebec need them to do these jobs that they can't get Quebecers to fill. They're contributing to the anglicization of Quebec, and something must be done. At which point, Monsieur Leblanc basically said, well, you're going to have to make it easy for them because, we're losing sight of the fact our own system isn't, aimed at having them speak French. But this is why you have this, what in franglais we'll call this double discourse, this idea that on the one hand, we must do everything. We must bulldoze over everyone to protect the French identity, the Quebec identity, the French language in Quebec. That is our priority. That is our sacred mission. But on the other hand, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, even though we say we want to limit immigration to 50,000 people a year, that's the official standpoint of the Legault government. We discovered last Friday during budget hearings for I think the Immigration Department, we happen to have, as of December of last year, we had 300,000 temporary workers in Quebec. And, they're not sort of like hanging around waiting for something to do. They are here. They have a mission here. And they are not subject to the mandatory French language tests and French language instruction simply because they're temporary workers. So once again, the Legault government, and quite frankly, like governments before it, wants to have it not both ways. They want to have it all 19 ways. Mm-hmm. On the one hand, they want to thump their chest, as François Legault did again this afternoon, that they've got to protect Quebec, but on the other, they sort of like nudge and wink and just realize that we have all these people working in Quebec, from outside of Canada, simply because there aren't enough Quebecers either available and or willing to do the job. And if those 300,000 workers were to disappear tomorrow, I really wonder how witty and how erudite Monsieur Roberge would be when it comes to protecting the French language, because you probably wouldn't hear him because of all the employers in Quebec who'd be screaming their brains out. But what's coming up clear here is, and yesterday, I had mentioned this incredible coincidence of the Bloc Québécois, as putting together a big, scary package on Saturday talking about the 100 project, 100 million people in Canada by the end of the century, basically suggesting it is the great replacement theory. We're all going to be gone. So all these immigrants are going to take over the country. And here is François Legault using his favorite word, his favorite noun. It is a threat to Quebec. This project, I'm against it. I'm going to fight it. It's a threat to Quebec. And when I see him say this for the umpteenth time, guys, I really ask myself a very simple question. Is it possible that the only thing that scares the hell out of François Legault is Quebecers who aren't scared? Because he seems to spend a lot of time making rattling sounds in the closet about identity and language. Since he has become Premier of Quebec, you think Quebec was completely under siege from everybody who didn't vote for the CAQ.
I think you're right.
That's a fair point.
I have to tell you, as I'm listening to you, I'm picturing François Legault as some sort of Dr. Evil character with a laser that he shoots at the 300,000 workers that instantly transforms them into Francos.
Well, no, actually, you know what? He's more of like the actual Wizard of Oz behind the curtains. this rather in over his head guy at the control panel, not really knowing what the control panel does, but knowing that you've got to keep the con up because people will really realize that you don't have a clue about what you're doing.
That's so
and in fact, speaking about not having a clue, did you like the four-square, politically courageous stand the Quebec Liberal Party took on immigration today?
Oh, do tell.
Didn't hear. Yeah, please. What?
Yeah, because after the revelation, there were 300,000 temporary workers here in Quebec. And I'm not making this up. They said we're going to have to revise the level that we're calling for immigration of 70,000. Okay, we're not sure that number will apply given the number of temporary workers who are here. We just don't know whether we should increase it or decrease it.
What?
My hand to God as I'm saying this.
What?
Okay.
I'm thoroughly confused. I don't.
So are they?
Yeah, apparently.
No, it's like the guy whose boss says, "I want a yes or no question," and he doesn't want to know what to say, so he says "ness." He can't give an answer. They can't give an answer. They don't know what to say. So I guess they'll want to see what the break is going to be on the story about the threat to Quebec that François Legault was drumming
and
down.
then react.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Let me talk about something a little closer to home, Jim. Natasha and I kind of, I don't know, we talked about this off the top of the show. And for the first time as a motorist here, I think I'm okay with this. The city is announcing a plan to basically make Old Montreal a pedestrian-only zone by as early as the summer of next year. And the reason I'm okay with this, Jim, is because it's impossible to get around there already as a motorist. So what's the difference?
Getting My concern, though, is that there are a lot of residents there who, believe it or not, still own cars. There are a lot of businesses there. I mean, in terms of getting their deliveries, I know there's this Colibri program that you offload stuff from a big polluting truck and put it on a little bicycle bin. You bring it over that way.
Oh, God.
Not sure it's going to work, if only because this is a Nordic city, and I don't know. Much in the same way as winter cycling, are you going to have a lot of winter pedestrians milling around Old Montreal? I worked in Old Montreal for about 20 years, and you know what? It gets cold because you're right by the river. So maybe it'll be a great idea. I'm not entirely sure that it's what the city needs right now, but and plus, don't forget, this is not the only car-free zone plan that's going on.
Yeah.
I just got a bad feeling about this one, and especially in terms of what Old Montreal has gone through in terms of construction, in terms of a lack of planning, in terms of trying to get back on its feet like downtown after the pandemic. It'll be interesting to see how and if they'll be able to pull this off.
Oh, you mean like asking people to come downtown this summer, but closing the Guy exit so that people can't actually physically
Isn't that a stroke
get
of genius?
downtown?
Although
you
can blame Quebec for that because that's Transport Quebec, right?
Yeah.
So you can blame the province for that.
Yeah. What happened to those famed discussions between the provincial government or Transport Quebec and the city? The ones they were going to have to make life a little bit easier for everybody.
Yeah. They're still going on.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
There'll be a result. But I remember hearing about that when Gérard Tremblay was the mayor. So, be patient.
Be patient.
And you know what they like to say? You know what the actual motto of the city of Montreal is? It's not Concordia Salus. It's use public transit.
Whatever that would be in Latin, we should change it, look it up, and that should be part of what we have as our city motto.
Absolutely.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Adamant.